Good morning everyone. I'm going to tackle about family dynamics. What is family dynamics? Family dynamics are the patterns of interactions between family members. These include roles, hierarchies, and communication between family members. Family dynamics are how members of a family interact with each other in relation to their individual goals and reference. Family dynamics, it is how family members act and move as part of a family. In a family, we have different roles and hierarchies that have been established. Knowing our roles to the family will help us identify our worth and responsibilities to be done. In the family, we need to cooperate and take our part for the success of our family goal and individual goal. Much of the research on eating disorders has focused on the development of healthy emotional boundaries in families. Researchers found that, in some cases, families are over-involved and enmeshed with an individual who has an eating disorder. Enmeshed. Enmeshed is a psychological term describing a symbiotic and overly intimate relationship in which the emotional and psychological boundaries between two people are too obscure or unclear that it is difficult for them to function as a separate individuals with their own identities. Enmeshment generally develops slowly and typically does not erupt into conflict until the child becomes an adolescent, wanting to assert their independence and develop an identity outside of the family. Teenagers in an enmeshed relationship may feel so powerless to develop a separate identity from an over-involved parent that they are trying to exert independence and autonomy by controlling what happens to their bodies. Take for example, an adolescent girl who wants to join her high school cheerleading squad, which would require her to be away from home after school for daily practices. So this separation may be emotionally threatening to an over-involved parent who compensate by sharing the cheerleading identity with her daughter via attendance at daily practices, games, and any related practices, and social gatherings. So the daughter is unable to develop an identity separate from her mother, so she tries to exert control the only way she knows how, by controlling her food intake. This type of behavior can slowly develop into an eating disorder. So, according to Hildebrand, 1973-1982, a pioneer in the study of eating disorder, he argued that anorexia nervosa often occurs in girls. As a result, that daughters not learn to identify and accept their own feelings and desire. Instead, they learn to monitor closely the needs and desire of others and comply with others' demand. In the case study, we can see that Trini's decision and her comfort have been neglected by her parents, which become the reason why Renee experienced eating disorder. Renee never experienced being true to herself due to the rules being set by her parents. It is so it is so very hard to adjust in a situation where you have been rejected by your own family. Kanang feeling nga naa kay family pero murag wala ra. Kanang ilaha yung gusto ang imong tumanon bitaw. Mao nang makafeel sa ko anak kay kanang dili nimo gusto pero gusto nila. Mao nay maka-affect sa tong mental health. Bruce argues that girl Bruce 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 argue, Bruce argues that girls from over-controlling deeply fear separations because they have not developed the ability to act and think independently of their family. Research has confirmed that the families of girls with eating disorder have high levels of conflict, discourage the negative emotion, and emphasize control and perfectionism. These negative characteristics are also prevalent in the families of children with depression, anxiety disorders, and several other forms of psychopathology. Family is considered a factor affecting eating disorder. Mostly, girls are affected by eating disorder due to trauma that she experienced from her family, such as conflicts, discouragement, and etc. What may distinguish families in which anorexia nervosa or bulimia nervosa develops is that the mothers in these families believe that their daughters should lose more weight, criticize their daughters' weight, and are themselves more likely to show disordered eating patterns. One longitudinal study showed that eating and weight-related concerns in 10-year-old children were predicted by the amount of conflict over eating habits and issues of controlling during meal times when the children were 5 years old. In addition, a lack of awareness of their bodily sensations may allow some girls in these families to ignore even the most severe hunger pangs. So, with this study, it shows that this kind of family is the one who decide for their daughters. Through their decision, it can lead to eating disorders. Because of the lack of awareness, their body sensations could ignore their hunger. Bisan pag, grabe na kayo, madala paghihapon nila nga di sila mukaon. Tungod kay, naanad na sila. Studies of adult women with binge eating disorder suggest that the combination of low parental warmth and high parental demands or control seems to distinguish girls and women who develop binge eating disorder from those who develop other forms of psychopathology. Psychopathology is a mental health disorder. Another family characteristic that distinguishes people with binge eating disorder from individuals with other mental disorder is a history of binge eating among other family members. People with binge eating disorder often fall out of control and eat a large amount of food at one time. Unlike other eating disorders, people who have binge eating disorder do not throw up the food or exercise too much. Binge eating disorder is a serious problem, but people with binge eating disorder can get better with treatment. The majority of studies of families and personality characteristics associated with eating disorder have compared people who already have an eating disorder with those who do not. As a result, we do not know to what extent these family and personality characteristics actually are causes of eating disorder. So, the controlling nature of parents' behavior toward their child may be consequence as well as cause of the disorder, with parents exerting control in order to try to save their child's life. Eating disorders is sometimes associated by parents overprotecting rules their child from their habits. In addition, some people turn to an eating disorder after they experience a family trauma, a deliberating condition that follows a frightening and often life-threatening events, causing severe anxiety and repeated frightening memories or thoughts. Mishandling of food can lead to food poison. That events may cause avoiding the certain foods because they feel unsafe. So this situation is an example of trauma to the eating behavior of our children. So conclusions. Therefore, family dynamics is very important in our daily lives, for it helps the family members to know their roles in the family. It should be practiced in every family to be harmonious in daily activities. Lack of awareness about family dynamics can cause eating disorder. And that's all the discussion of family dynamics. Thank you.